Welcome back to the Cyber Show, brought to you by ThreatAdvice and Nextsoft. I'm Elizabeth.
And I'm Ben, and today on the show we have our cyber news roundup, as always, followed by Something's Fishy and some more great stuff, so stay tuned. Elizabeth?
For our first story, we have an emergency patch for all Apple devices. If you haven't updated them, then stop what you're doing and do that now. Now that we got that out of the way, this also includes your iPhones, Macs, and Apple Watches. Software updates are very important for your digital safety and cybersecurity. Apple's most recent update will fix a serious zero-click vulnerability. This means you don't even have to click on a link for it to install malware into your device. These are getting harder and harder to detect because the targets don't know that they have been infected and therefore are not reporting it. The spyware installed is known as Pegasus, which sends data back including photos, messages, audio, and video. It was developed by NSO, which is an infamous Israeli company that sells spyware to dozens of governments all around the world. Security researchers at Citizens Lab discovered this while reanalyzing a backup from an activist's phone that was originally hacked. The files appeared to be GIFs sent as SMS text messages, but were actually SDS and PDFs. Moral of the story, make sure you update all of your devices. The sooner, the better, the more confident you'll feel that your devices are secure, or at least until the next update.
All right, this next one is big. Walgreens COVID testing website. So anyone who got a COVID-19 test exposed customer data according to a new report from Recode and Vox Media. That's right, if you got a COVID-19 test at Walgreens, your personal data, that's your name, your date of birth, your phone number, your address, your email, and more, was left on the open web for anyone to see and for the multiple ad trackers on Walgreens' site to collect. So the problems were with Walgreens' test appointment registration system. So what that system does and how it works is that when you make an appointment, you put in all this data, and then it generates a unique URL for you. But the only thing that's actually unique in that URL is your patient ID, which is randomly generated. But if a hacker or a bot were able to guess that patient ID in the URL, they would get access to all that personal data because otherwise it's unprotected. Vox Media and Recode reached out to Walgreens to try to see if they could remedy this before they published a piece, and Walgreens pretty much ignored them. So they published the piece, and now Walgreens is saying that they've added an authentication screen to the process. Cyber experts have said that's not enough. So the data exposure potentially affects millions of people, and the vulnerability goes back to at least March and probably later. So that's a big one.
For our last story, FTC warns health apps to report breaches. The Federal Trade Commission, who is responsible for protecting consumers and promoting competition in the economy, passed an updated policy for the 2009 health breach notification rule. Originally, it mandated any vendors dealing with personal health records to report breaches and notify patients of that breach. Unfortunately, health apps and other technologies used to track fitness, sleep, mental health, and treatments were slipping through the cracks. And with this new policy, they are now being held accountable and required to protect and secure customer data. If they don't comply, they face fees up to $40,000 per day. And keeping, sensitive information has been a hot topic, and it's good that government agencies are stepping in to help.
Absolutely. It's about time health apps get put on blast for that. That's all we've got for today. Stay tuned.
Something's fishy. We have a top 12 list from Expel.
Expel's latest investigation identified the top 12 keywords used in phishing attacks in 10,000 malicious emails. These keywords aim to make the recipients interact with the content of the email by targeting one or more of these three themes: imitating legitimate business activities, creating a sense of urgency, this is a major theme, and prompting the recipient to take action.
For our first word, we have invoice, which is prompting a user to take action.
The number 2 word on this list is the word new. The word new makes recipients think that they might be missing something important and prompts an action.
For our third word, we have message. This can be a telephone message. It is inclining users to read or listen to the message quickly.
Our fourth word is the word required. This word targets employees' sense of responsibility and urges them to take immediate action.
For our fifth word, we have blank subject. And I know that might sound weird, but if you don't have a subject at all, then security tech can't scan for phishing or spam keywords.
Our sixth word is the word file. This is just another generic business term that's going to prompt an employee to open that message.
For our seventh word, we have request. This can be a request for documents such as W-9s or a request for a quote.
Our eighth word is the word action. Obviously, this is calling for an immediate action and is creating that sense of urgency to open an email.
For our ninth word, we have document. Similar to file, this is another generic term in the business industry that will make users feel comfortable opening.
Our 10th word is the word verification. This is another word that calls upon employees' sense of responsibility and is going to make them think they need to take an immediate action.
Our 11th word is e-fax, which is still broadly used in normal business operations and prompts people to click on links and download files.
Our 12th and final word is voicemail or VM. This obviously makes people think they might have a voicemail or an important message that they need to get to and will prompt an action to open that message. So what you should do next if you've received a phishing email or a phishing scam is you should, number one, set up a multi-factor authentication. Number two, make sure you have a good phishing program that's going to educate employees and users of your system on how to spot these kind of attacks. And the third thing you should do is encourage employees to take a closer look at the emails and messages they're receiving, to look at the sender and to watch out for those 12 keywords that we just went over. When it comes to phishing, complacency is a big risk. We've seen that organizations that have set up training programs for phishing have a lot less of a chance of being attacked or breached by a malicious email.
The latest victim to a large profile ransomware attack this week was Iowa-based grain co-op called New Cooperative. They had their systems forced offline by a ransomware attack from the group Black Matter. The ransomware group is demanding $5.9 million for a ransomware payment. The farming organization says the attack may disrupt the food supply chain for grain, chicken, and pork. And this is why. Because its software powers 40% of grain production and the feed schedules of 11 million farm animals. So this could be a really big deal if this does not get remedied. The farming co-op pushed back against Black Matter's ransom demand because they said their website says they don't hit critical infrastructure. But the ransomware group then responded to them and said, your organization doesn't fit in the critical infrastructure category. So I think the federal government is getting involved and this story is developing. So we'll see what happens. Until then, that's all I've got for today. Catch you next time on The Cyber Show.